Hey guys, this is Ross with Labor 12, and today we're going through my live guitar rig. I guess we'll just start at one end of the signal chain and work all the way to the last bit. And so first thing is the guitar pick. Believe it or not, guitar picks make a big difference in your sound. If you're interested, Troy Grady actually has a really good educational thing on like just how picks sound different, and I highly recommend that. But I have landed, after years of trying different things, landed on these Dunlop Jazz 3 Max Grips. You'll know that they're the Max Grips because they have these, it looks like miniature diamond plating on it, but it's like once you've got a grip on it, it's not slipping out, which is great until you grab the pick the wrong way, and then you're stuck with it until you can change it up either when you stop playing or between songs or whatever. So Dunlop Jazz 3 Max Grips. And then we'll jump into the guitars here. So this one I don't actually play live with Labor 12. I did use this on the album, but I like to bring this one out because it was kind of what kickstarted this whole setup you see here. So since I was 14, 15, I was a huge Creed fan, ergo Mark Tremonti fan, and in August of 2012, I decided to buy one of these Tremonti SEs. I had tried one of the first releases, the silver ones, and just had a fat neck. The pickups didn't sound great. I picked it up and I hated it immediately. So when they came out in the early 2010s or so and re-released these built to Mark's core model specs, I decided to go ahead and give one a try. So I ordered this one, and as soon as it came in, it felt like it was made for my hand. So fast forward to like 2016 or so, we actually got to go see Mark and got his signature down here on the body. So got to tell him that he's the reason that I ever picked up a guitar. And so these guitars have a lot of sentimental value. But first thing I did when I got this is I gutted the pickups and put in these USA Tremonti pickups. This was a special run, and I can't remember the music company. I don't think they're around anymore, but these are the Tremonti USAs, although they're both covered. And so did that. 2019, put these locking tuners on, the PRS SE tuners, which saves a ton of time when it comes to restringing, because you just put your string in, give it enough to give it maybe half a wrap around on the post, but you just screw these little keepers down, and you don't have to have 8.5 miles of string on your tuning post. So that's pretty much it as far as major mods on this guitar. For the strap locks, I'm using these Schallers. These are the nickel plated, I believe, and I like these because it has this saddle built into them. The Dunlop button ones have like a ball spring thing in there, and if that fails, the whole thing fails. This, at least, once it's on, it's on. It has to sit in the saddle, and this button has to be pulled out, so pretty fail-safe. From there, I've got this Fret 12 Old Glory strap that I really like. I really like the Fret 12 straps. So it's pretty much it for this guitar. Then we'll move in. I'm just going to go chronological on my guitars. So the next one is another Tremonti SE. The exact same model as the last one. It's just red. And on this one, I only replaced the bridge pickup. I didn't replace the bridge and the neck. I might replace the neck someday, don't know. But kind of the same thing. It's got the locking tuners, and it's got the Fret 12 strap with the Schallers, but I went with the black hardware on this one because red and black just looks good. And then on this strap, I've got this Zero Foxtrot. This is a PVC patch. It's the skull of the Stormtrooper. Jacob got one of these for everybody in the band. So this is my drop C guitar that I do play with live. I play this one, drop C. So Mirror, Mirror, and Brother were played, they are played and were recorded on this guitar for my tracks. And the black one actually did use in the studio on Everglade for a small portion of it. So it has been used for Labor 12 stuff, just not live yet. You know, there's always hope. And last but certainly not least, this was the most recent one I bought, which I think I got this 2 or 3 years ago, 2019, I think. And so this one, I always have my picks caught in the strings. But same kind of thing. This is a Tremonti SE, but this is the custom. So it has the floating bridge. The body's a lot heavier on this one than my other two, which really, you know, it helped with the low end chugging on this. And so this one, same deal, replaced pickups. This is the actual, the standard Tremonti set. So you have the uncovered at the bridge and then the covered at the neck. And then locking tuners. For my strings, I use D'Addario EXLs. I try to go with the balanced tensions. I can't, these are the heaviest ones I could find. I think they're like 12 to 60 on these. And so moving up the neck, here we've got the Schallers. Again, these are nickel plated. This is supposed to be a charcoal burst, but it looks more green than charcoal gray. And then I've got my monochrome Old Glory fret 12 strap. And something worth noting here that I didn't point out on the other guitars is the posts on these Schallers. I will actually Gorilla Glue them into the body because I've had too many times where the screws just kind of work their way out on their own. So, but if you do that, it's best to, what I typically do, because the holes are already a little loose from pulling the old post out and putting the new one in, I'll break a matchstick or a toothpick, stick it down in there, screw this in with a little bit of Gorilla Glue. And I do mean a very little bit. If you use too much, you can split the body on your guitar, which I can think of very few things that would be sadder to do to a guitar. I don't know, I can think of a couple things, but that would be a really sad one. On the body of this, I've got my fret 12 strings and skull sticker, so one of my favorite fret 12 designs. And this guitar is my drop A sharp, and so this is the one we use on most everything. And the secret weapon on this guy is this right here. If you can't tell, that's a paper towel stuffed into the body of this guitar. And I use it to get a pristine clean tone because, you know, Bounty, quicker picker upper. Please don't unsubscribe. No, when we were in the studio, since this has the floating bridge, it has springs running up through it, and I had this very springy reverb sound whenever I'd mute the strings. And like when you're playing metal, you don't really want that kind of sound, so I stuffed that napkin in there to kill those springs. So that's it for the guitars. From there, I've got, when we're rehearsing and we're playing on a small stage, like we opened for Butcher Babies a little while back, and I think they had, was it 2 or 3 kits backlined on the stage? It was, everybody in town had their drum kit on the stage. And we had like 18 inches for the whole band. And so if it's a small setup like that, I'll play wired. This is a Mogami guitar cable. I don't even know where it came from. It just appeared on my pedal board one day, and after about 6 months, I just decided to keep it because nobody else claimed it. So possession is 9/10 of the law, especially if you get caught. Playing with a cable on stage is fairly unusual for us because we prefer to go wireless, and so For our wireless solution, we went with the Line 6 Relay series. The particular ones we got were the G50s, and that's the top of the line. I think there's like a 20, a 30, maybe there's a 10, a 30, and a 50. The 10s actually got recalled last year because they were catching fire, so I wouldn't recommend that one. The 30s have the same guts as the 50, but they're made out of plastic, so this body is, you can't hear it, but the body on this is actually metal, and it's got a metal clip on it. The one that comes with the G30 is plastic, and the first time you use it, it will break. So don't waste your money on the G30 unless you have some other kind of, pack you want to keep this in, like a satchel or a man purse, because that's where plastic things go, or in man purses. So as far as the settings on the G50, they're pretty simple. You have channels, so you select the channels. This one has 12 channels. The 30, I think, has 6 or 8 channels, has fewer channels. This also has cable tone on it. I turned that off because, like, if you're playing through decent enough cables, it's not gonna color your sound that much. So I leave the cable tone turned off, and I run a piece of tape over it so that it doesn't accidentally get turned on. So now, with the pedal board, the signal routing this is a fun one. You don't need a master's degree. I should know, I didn't finish college, but it's not exactly simple either. So the very first thing, either my wireless or the cable, depending on the situation, I'm going into this Polytune 3 from TC Electronics. This is the Mini, and it's the Noir version, which means black, I think. So if it doesn't, what do I know? This is the black version though, and so it is a true bypass. And I've got mine set in mute mode, so hear that? No, because my volume's off. So I've got it set up as a mute bypass for when I'm tuning, because nobody wants to hear this while you're tuning. So I just have it muted. There's a few different modes for this thing. I just keep it in the basic mode that it came in, because it does what I need it to. So, but super great pedal. I think out of all the tuners out there, it's one of the better ones. And then from the tuner, I go into my Boss NS2 noise suppressor, and I've got that running in what's called the Advanced X pattern. And I'm actually going to be doing a separate video on that, because I don't want to waste too much time on this one, but I will do a video on that and show you guys how I'm running this to maximize its effectiveness. So, all right, so out of the noise suppressor, the first pedal in my signal chain for my main chain is this whammy pedal from Digitech. I think I got this about 2008. I don't know how often they come up with a new version, but it's often enough that each iteration has its own distinct sound. And this one I've got it in harmony mode for octave up, octave down. So when it's engaged, it adds an octave above when it's all the way up, or down when it's all the way down. And I use this one really mostly for Wasteland, so the bridge part is. So the other one I used this on in the studio that I don't play live is Head Rush, and I stole, same settings, kind of stole the idea from Seven Dust on Waffle, but we have our. So rolled up on the 2 high notes, rolled down on the lower notes, and so that's it for the whammy pedal. Sometimes I'll go with a detune that just kind of helps thicken things up a little bit. Gives it almost a little bit of a reverby feel, but not too much. So that's with, that's without. So subtle, but I think it's a nice effect. So from there, we go into this TREX Tremonti phase shifter or phaser, depending on the brand of pedal it is. And this one, the settings on it, I couldn't actually tell you because I've got all of my knobs taped off where I can't adjust them because I got it dialed in just like I liked it. But the knobs, you have a bite knob which adds some overdrive. You have a level which is kind of a wet-dry knob, so you can either go all phase, midway, whatever. You can dial it into taste. It's got a depth, so that gives you kind of your, that's the spread on that. Or you can go, however, it's, again, it's all up to your taste. And then it has a rate, so the speed, so you have that yeah, or a yeah, it's just, whatever. And then the last thing on this pedal is it's got a toggle switch for 4-stage or 8-stage phase, which the 8-stage is super thick. I leave mine on the 4 all the time because it has more of an older phaser sound, not as digital sounding, which this is an analog pedal, but still I don't like the 8-stage, so I leave it on that all the time. But this one I use mostly on Phoenix, so sounds like this. So, just has a nice little, it just adds some texture to it. And then out of the phaser, we go into one of my absolute favorite pedals, and it's, I've had that one, I think between the whammy pedal and this wah pedal, those are the two I've had the longest. And so wah pedal, it just has that wah wah sound to it. That's why it was named a wah pedal. But this one is the Morley Tremonti wah. It's pressure sensitive, so you just have to engage it and it automatically comes on. It's not a stomper like a Crybaby, and I like that because I used to play on a Crybaby, and there's nothing more embarrassing than thinking you've stomped it off and rolling it back. It's horrible. Nobody wants that. So the pressure sensitive wah completely eliminates that problem. And one of the functions, the additional functions on this, it does have a boost on it, so it just gives you, it's if your amp goes to 11 but you still need one more, you can throw this wah pedal in it. Right. But I use this one mostly on Suffocate. I love this pedal. Live, there's no telling when I'll use it, but as far as the album goes, the bridge kind of leading into the pre-solo bridge part. So. So that's what the wah pedal does. One of my favorite pedals. So on the other side of the noise suppressor, the noise suppressor isn't just gating my guitar signal, it's also gating the effects loop on my amp, which again, I'll get into that in another video. But as far as the effects loop gate signal coming out of the NS2, I'm going into an MXR carbon copy, and that's pretty much it. So it gives me this super subtle. This is without it. So just adds a little bit of texture. It's kind of nice, especially when Jacob's doing a solo. It just helps keep things nice and thick. So last pedal on my pedal board that I don't think I use it live at all. With Labor 12, I've got a tube screamer, a mini tube screamer from Ibanez, and there we go. I can't see the LED from here, but that one just. That's without. So pretty subtle. That one, I do want to try an actual tube screamer, see if maybe I can get a little more juice out of it, and then I might use it a little more. But that pretty much wraps it up on the effects pedals on my pedal board, and then you know, the only thing left is what I would consider a utility pedal, I guess, maybe, I don't know. So, if that's not what they call them, that's what I'm calling them now. But I've got this orange FS1, I believe. I can't read that from here. But it's an orange amplification foot switch pedal that is just a channel switcher. The switch that came with this amp head, it's a great switch, but it's got a wired cable and it's only 15 feet long, and I don't know that I've ever played 15 feet away from my amp or within that proximity, unless I'm sitting on top of it because there's no room. But I digress. I ended up, I bought this just to see if it would work, and one of the added benefits is it does have an LED on it, so when I switch to my clean channel, it lights up. The other one didn't have that, so it's like 40 bucks for this thing, so very, very well worth the investment. So, let's move our way up the signal chain. From the pedal board to the amp, I've got this cable snake, homemade. It's got 4 cables in it, and it's shrink wrapped at both ends. It's 30 feet. That seems to be a pretty good distance. I don't think we've ever run out of length with a 30-foot cable snake. So basically I've got 3 cables running to and from the noise suppressor. One's running into the input on the amp. The other 2 are going through the send and receive on the effects loop in the back, and then the last cable is just for this foot switch. And so we'll just keep traveling up the cable. Next thing in line is kind of the amp rig. So first thing is I've got this not Behringer. It's not a Behringer. It's an SKB X Rack. I think they're discontinued. I don't know if they make these anymore. I bought this 15 years ago. It's been a while. But bought this to put my amp head in, and ended up, basically I took the top handle off the amp, went to Harbor Freight and bought a bunch of anti-fatigue mat and just stuffed it all in there. So we've got, inside we get to the amp, and I've got this Paul Reed Smith MT15. MT stands for Mark Tremonti. 15 is either the wattage or the length of foot switch cable they give you. I'm not sure yet. But it is a 15 watt amp, so, you know, could be anybody's guess. But I always run this thing at 7 watts. 15, I think, would stop my heart in rehearsal. And so it's a 2-channel amp. You've got your clean channel, you've got your lead channel. The lead channel is the red one. And then clean channel is the blue channel, and it's got these cool LEDs inside that, you know, change with it. And then all my settings, I don't think I've messed with those in over a year. The only thing that's worth noting is there is a treble boost on this. These pickups, I think, are a little too hot on the cleans for the treble boost. It just breaks up the channel more than I like. But, you know, to each their own. So from there, we go into this 2 notes Captor X torpedo load box. Probably got the words all out of order. I do know it's a torpedo, it's a 2 notes, and it's a load box, but it's also an IR loader. IR meaning impulse response. And so what this does is the band were all on in-ear monitors, and initially we had some brackets that mounted to the cabinets, and we just pop a 57, a Shure SM57 on there, but it never sounded good. At least I didn't think so. And there was always an issue of somebody tripping or, you know, catching a cable or something and moving the mic. And so what this does, this acts as a go-between between the amp and the cabinet, and the tube amp just feeds this thing, and you get a direct output that has an emulated speaker cabinet on the outputs on the back or on the headphones. And you can load in any cabinet you want as long as you have an impulse response for it. The ones that came with it sound great. I bought some from Lancaster Audio, which is part of, they're associated with Spectrum Media Group somehow. So I got the Ulrich Wild Pack and Sahaj. I don't remember his last name, but he's done some work for Seven Dust and people like that. But I use the Ulrich blend, the Mesa blend, which blends an SM57 and an Audix D4 microphone on a cabinet and it's an impulse response he's used with his recording setup. So nice thing about this guy is that I don't have to have the cabinet plugged in. With a tube amp, the power has to go somewhere, otherwise you'll blow your amp. So what this does is this acts like a speaker cabinet, and it'll take the entire wattage output, and basically you can play silently with or without a cabinet plugged in. And so it was great when we were recording the album because it cut down on our footprint and gave us some really good tones. So out of that, we go into this Mesa Boogie triple rectifier slant cab. It's a 412. As far as I'm aware, it's got factory speakers in it. I couldn't actually tell you which ones because I acquired this secondhand, and so that's pretty much it for the entire signal chain. So let's listen to the amp, see what it sounds like. So this is I never use the clean channel except on Phoenix Dark Dirk, so we'll just play that. So also use the cleans on Everglade. I don't think I played clean on anything else, but without the phaser. Sounds nice, and that MXR, the carbon copy, is going all the time, but kill it. So it's not so clean, but I'll also use the tube screamer on the clean channel. So just, gives it a little bit of a crunchier tone that's a little more subdued than I can get out of the red channel. But let's just go into the red channel and show you kind of what it's got. So, super thick tone. So the head has 6L6 preamp tubes. Can't get them anymore. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that these tubes last me a very long time, because I don't know what I would do if I had to switch them. But I think that just about wraps it up for my rig rundown. If you have any questions about any of the pedals, hit me up. I'll be glad to answer them as best I can. Anything about the amp. When we do the noise suppressor video, I'll show you kind of why I rigged it the way I did, because this amp is notoriously noisy. And, well, let's show you, right? So that's the amp. The volume's down all the way. My guitar's muted. That's the noise we get out of it. So I've got that set up in such a way that now everything's on, guitar's unmuted, volume's up, and it's dead silent. So does a good job, chokes everything except for the delay. So I think that, yeah, that covers it. So again, reach out if you've got any questions. I'm gonna definitely do a more in-depth video on how the noise suppressors run, but follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, you know, Twitter, send us your likes. We've got a TikTok channel. I don't even know, is that like social media for watches? Yeah, okay. So, guess that's where you look at your grandfather clock porn. It's on TikTok. Don't Google that. But yeah, follow us on social, subscribe on YouTube. We're gonna be, you know, hopefully cranking out some more content as, you know, as time rolls by. But yeah, hit me up if you got any questions. Be glad to answer them for you. And until then, rock out. My eyes are getting really dry.